Hey everybody, welcome to the first virtual meeting of the Climate Resilience Committee. We're going to start out with a roll call of the committee members. So in order to do that in a way that makes sense, I'm going to call on people to unmute themselves and then give themselves a brief intro. So I'll start with Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick Rinn, ocean scientist and science communicator, and happy to see everybody again. It's been a long time.
Okay, Jose is next.
Jose Regalado, and member.
Thank you. Okay, then we have someone, I hear it's his birthday, Reynaldo Borges.
You're muted, Reynaldo.
You have to unmute yourself.
I was unmuting the wrong Ronaldo. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. And thank you for the birthday. Yes, having a great day. It's good to be back.
Happy birthday. Great. Next on my, next among the panel members is Keelan.
Hello, Keelan Bishop, scientist.
Okay, and then we have Wayne. Are you there, Wayne?
Mute, you got to unmute.
Thought I did. Can you hear me now?
Okay. That was Wayne. Wayne, I didn't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
All right. Wayne Pathman, Pathman Lewis, land use and zoning attorney. I hope everyone's well, safe and sound, and looking forward to picking up our meetings.
Great. You look like you're in a nice place there.
Yes, I'm up in the mountains in Colorado.
Oh.
It's not
Great.
too hot.
Okay. I got all the panel members, right?
No, Chief Hevia.
Oh, where is he?
Right. I can see him. I don't know where he is on your screen.
No, I don't see him. Wave.
Robert Evia, emergency manager.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? Robert, busy person, but I don't see him in my.
We need to get you a bigger screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was missing. Go ahead, Robert.
Robert Evia, emergency manager. Nice to see
Oh,
you.
there you are. Hi. Great to see you. You must have had a busy few months since we saw you last.
I'm a little busy.
Okay. So, let's see. We have a public comment, but before, yes, the next thing on our agenda is a public comment. As of this morning, there were no voicemail messages left ahead of time during the public comment period from last week. Do we have any public comments that have come in on the comment form during the meeting thus far?
Chair.
Yes.
If I may, I'd just like to read, I have a little bit of a script I have to read into the record related to public comment and the efforts the city has taken to facilitate public comment while hosting a virtual meeting. If you just give me one moment, I have to read, and it should only take about 2 minutes.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Any person who is a lobbyist must, pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code, register with the city clerk and comply with related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the Climate Resilience Committee. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the city clerk's office online or at www.municode.com. In accordance with Section 2-888 of the City Code, written notice for this virtual meeting was provided to the city clerk at least 7 days prior to this virtual meeting. Since this virtual meeting is authorized by the governor of the state of Florida, members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by visiting www.miamigov.com/virtualboards to submit their written comments via the online comment form. Members of the public may also call 205-250-5351 to provide comments via the city's dedicated public comment voicemail. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the Climate Resilience Committee prior to any action taken. The Climate Resilience Committee will accommodate any speakers desiring to appear in person, subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screening for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter City Hall. All interested parties are required to abide by all state, county, local emergency orders and are urged to remain at home and practice social distancing. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the Climate Resilience Committee takes action on such a proposition. When addressing the Climate Resilience Committee, the member of the public must first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. When the Climate Resilience Committee takes action or votes on any proposition before it, it shall do so by a roll call vote, which shall be recorded by the clerk or board liaison and included in the record. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, or services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. Access and public comment accommodation. Oh, I apologize. The Climate Resilience Committee is using Zoom to hold its July 6th, 2020 virtual meeting. Zoom is a cloud platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. In order to ensure the public has the ability to view the meeting, the Climate Resilience Committee will broadcast the meeting, and the meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, miami.gov.com/TV, through the city's YouTube channel and on Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Additionally, the Climate Resilience Committee has not selected a virtual platform that requires the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch the meeting. Aside from the Zoom platform, the participants and the fact that participants will be viewing remotely, the public will have no discernible difference in their ability to watch the meeting. The Climate Resilience Committee has developed several new methods for ensuring public comment for a virtual meeting. There are two options. The first allows the public to comment, provide comments via the dedicated public comment voicemail by calling 305-250-5351, where the individuals will be able to leave a 2-minute message that will be played during the virtual Climate Resilience Committee meeting. The second new option allows the public to submit comments via the Climate Resilience Committee's online comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been distributed to the board members and city staff throughout the day so the Climate Resilience Committee members can consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to the Climate Resilience Committee members up until the chairperson closes public comment. For all the aforementioned options, all the comments received will be included in the public record of this meeting. For these two new options, the Climate Resilience Committee also created a simple set of instructions explaining how the public may submit their comments with either option. Those instructions were provided in the notice to the public and published online at miamigov.com/virtualboards. Additionally, like any other Climate Resilience Committee meeting, the public may also provide comment at City Hall. The Climate Resilience Committee has set up a terminal in the event members of the public traveling to City Hall wish to provide public comment. However, due to COVID-19, all speakers desiring to appear in person will be subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screening for symptoms of COVID-19, and any person exhibiting symptoms will not be permitted to enter City Hall. This Climate Resilience Committee has published an agenda available upon request, as well as included in the notice to the public pursuant to the city code, the items and topics that will be discussed at the Climate Resilience Committee meeting. The public has been given the opportunity to provide comment during the meeting and all the aforementioned methods I just mentioned. Moreover, Section 286.0114 sub 4 sub C Florida statutes specifically authorizes the committee to prescribe procedures or forms for an individual to use in order to inform the board or commission of a desire to be heard, to indicate his or her support, opposition, neutrality on a proposition. The Climate Resilience Committee has provided such information via a dedicated webpage and social media channels. And that is all. I apologize for taking that time, but I needed to read into the record for you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goldberg. And with that, I guess we'll continue on with the meeting. The next on the agenda, well, we have public comment at this point. I don't know if there's any that have come in. If they're not, we can return to this at the end again for public comment.
Well, there's a total of 5 written public comments.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to read them now or later.
How long are they? Do you think you could read them within the a 2-minute period or 2 minutes each?
I think so.
So, Mr. Goldberg, what would be your advice on this?
For the written, so there were written comments sent. Were they sent to all board members or just to you, Ray?
Well, so I'm looking at the live feed right now, of them coming in. So the board members don't have it right now.
Okay.
Then I guess we should probably read into the record. I'm not sure how that's been.
I could probably share my screen. I don't know if.
And that's a possibility. Give me one moment. Let me double check because I'm not sure how we've handled the written ones before. I think in abundance of caution, it's probably best to read them into the record. But give me one moment to take a look.
Okay. In the meantime, I would just encourage people to look at the, if you haven't had a chance to look at their resolution that was circulated by Ronaldo earlier this week on sea level rise projections. So please take a look at that.
Apologize. As far as the written comments, you can either read them into the record, and there's only a couple of them you might want to, or Ray, if you could forward them to all the members and they can read them quickly, and we could continue on from there. We have to make sure that the public comment is perceived by the board members.
Right. Ray, how long do you think it would take to read out loud?
Like 5-7 minutes or so.
Okay, well, that's within the time. We had 10 minutes allotted for public comment, so if we can do it within that 10 minutes, I think we should do that. We're a little behind schedule, but that's technical. Our new platform, so we'll expect it. But why don't you go ahead and try to do it within 10 minutes, and if what we don't finish within 10, we'll pick up at the end in our remaining 10 minutes.
Okay. So the first one's from Yokamil Arditi Roca. Our changing climate is creating a climate emergency. Seas are rising, hurricanes are getting stronger and slower. We are increasing above average heat days, just to name a few. We are thrilled to see proposals coming from the federal government that address the growing risks of the climate crisis affecting us already in the city of Miami, like the recent proposed fact-based study by the Army Corps of Engineers. However, I have many concerns regarding this plan. It focuses mainly on gray infrastructure and misses the clear multiple benefits that could be achieved through incorporating living shorelines and other nature-based features like coral reef restoration, mangrove island, etc. The proposal uses NOAA's sea level rise projection high curve for this study, but it's unclear if the Corps has also assessed tropical cyclone climatology change when forecasting/planning for 100-year flood events, which are likely to occur every 5 to 30 years in the Southeast. The cost-benefit analysis formula applied perpetuates inequitable investment in wealthier areas by relying on property value loss calculations. We need to include social vulnerability criteria because our city will never be resilient if we leave the most vulnerable behind. It does not address other climate-related issues like sunny day flooding, and the environmental impacts from Biscayne Bay are yet to be known because the studies have not been conducted, but could be too many to consider. We need a holistic solution approach, not a $5 billion Band-Aid. This project looks at just one issue of a multi-pronged, complex, existential, ridiculously politicized threat called the climate crisis. We need more than a Band-Aid. We need the entire ICU and all the PPE we can get. This is a climate emergency. And then I thank you for the opportunity to, wait, is this the same one? That's the first one. The next is from Rachel Silverstein. I thank you for the opportunity to submit the following comments on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Army Corps Back Bay Coastal Storm Risk Management Feasibility Study. This study represents a significant and important occasion to address the urgent storm surge and other climate change related risks to the Miami-Dade County community. While we recognize the critical need for resiliency investment, we find that the tentatively selected plan is problematic. Not only does this proposal fail to adequately consider nature and nature-based features as opportunities for flood control, but it also negatively impacts our environment. The TSP inflicts unacceptable environmental harm, exacerbates equity issues, and ignores or worsens chronic flooding from sea level rise. It is my opinion that this current proposal will not be supported by the community. It is now to us to proactively support a locally supported plan. While mitigation coastal storm risk, the plan is a must. Equitably investment in communities. Avoid worsening sea level rise based flooding impacts. Avoid disrupting neighborhoods. Avoid harming the environment. Leverage existing community-based resiliency plans such as Resilient 305 and others. The specific components of a plan should include investments in stormwater retrofits, retention, filtration, investments in septic to sewer conversion, especially in Little River and Arch Creek, fortifications of our sewage treatment plants, living shorelines, green infrastructure, coral restoration, and then there's a link. More information can be found on www.miamiwaterkeepers.org/USAID's Back Bay Study Action Alert. Thank you for your work, Rachel. The next one is from O. Collins. Regarding the Back Bay study with the Army Corps of Engineers, I am concerned that this proposal does not adequately consider the source of the climate crisis, chronic flooding or nature-based solutions like mangrove or coral reef restoration. I am also concerned that high-value properties are more likely to benefit from the above protection features, often at the expense of historically vulnerable communities. This study presents an opportunity to invest billions into resilience building for Miami that is holistic, inclusive, and realistic to be climate ready. However, as is, the study addresses only one issue, storm surge. In addition, I am concerned that the community has not been adequately informed on this plan, and more community educational outreach events are needed. And then there's one from Francis Colon on public comment period. The Climate Resilience Committee should recommend City of Miami commissioners request an extension of the USAID's Back Bay study public comment period. This semifinal report has been released in the middle of a pandemic that has limited the outreach capacity of organizations in the county and city to citizens that would be impacted by the proposed measures. Briefings were conducted online over a 2-week period after the release of the report a few weeks ago, and deadline for comments is currently July 20th. On the report, CRC members should question and discuss the following. Why are only gray infrastructure measures proposed when the community has requested green infrastructure consistently and loudly? Is this what we want? Is this what we want if we are on the hook for 35% of the cost? Why an investment of almost $5 billion would exclude looking to address storm surge impact and none of the other problems that we confront, like tidal flooding? The cost benefit analysis will provide guidance for elevation/flood proofing for which properties. Will properties of only as certain value and above be eligible? The solution should avoid disrupting neighborhood and harming the environment. How does a wall placed downtown affect people inside or outside the wall protection? And how does it impact the marine environment of the bay? Strategies like Resilient 305 offer a range of resilience building options and should be leveraged and considered by USAIDs, like investments in stormwater retrofits, retention, filtration, investments in septic to sewer conversion, especially in Little River and Arch Creek, living shorelines, green infrastructure, and coral restoration. And then the last one's from Clara Ransom, and it says, when will the city educate the public about the climate emergency? And that's all for now.
Thank you, Ray.
Great, well done. You did that well within 10 minutes, so that was excellent. Thank you very much, Ronaldo, and all the public members of the public that commented via Ronaldo. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes for the March 2nd meeting, which Ronaldo sent around. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. That was Wayne moving and Jose seconding. So now I guess we'll do a voice a vote on this. Is that what you would recommend, Mr. Goldberg?
Roll call.
I mean, for minutes are usually passed unanimously, although from the vote on the virtual meeting, I always recommend a roll call just because everyone's saying yes
Okay.
and people say no. You don't know who said what.
Yeah.
So for minutes, I wouldn't, you can do it by acquiescence if you want, but for any substantive vote, I would do definitely by roll call.
Okay. All right. Let me say, does anyone object to the minutes? And if I hear none, the minutes will be approved. Any objections? No? Okay, so we'll move on. Next time we have a vote, we'll do a roll call vote. Thank you. Next item on the agenda were some opening remarks. So I guess this is a time I just want to say, express my thanks to the city staff and people that have been involved in all of the emergency response. It's a really challenging time. I hope everybody's doing well. State continues to do so. And I just want to thank everybody for being willing to try this new platform for meeting. And I hope that we'll can everyone hear me? I hope we can continue to keep things going despite the ongoing challenges related to COVID-19. So having said that, I would like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is on sea level rise projections, which Jane Gilbert circulated some draft resolution wording for us on this. And maybe turn it over to Jane now, if you would mind explaining the background of this and anything else you want to say about it. Jane.
I'm happy to do so, but you did have in your part of the agenda, the Back Bay study comment period. Did you want to have any discussion on that?
Sorry, in my part of the agenda, I thought that was an agenda item.
Not on the agenda I'm looking at.
Okay. All right, well then, yes, I had circulated to the committee the fact that there was a call for public comment. I hope everyone had a chance to look at the draft plan. We've heard a significant amount of public comment on the plan. I can just reflect back some of the key points that I think I heard that I think were really important. I think it's critical that this committee has some role in commenting on this plan. I would personally like to see this committee be able to provide some comment, either as a body or as individual members. So if I can just recap some of the what I heard in the public comments and that I've heard from speaking with members of the public. First and foremost is a request for an extension because the due date is July 20th. And as we know, there's been very difficult for us to meet and convene, and it just takes more time, I think, to be able to provide comment. So I think that's a specific action item that I would like to see is having someone from this, I think this suggestion was that a city manager make the request for an extension. There was a lot of discussion about equity and whether the kind of cost benefit analysis that were part of the plan were done in a way that will not only not exacerbate current inequities, but actually improve on equity issues. There are other problems that are related to climate, including the causes and other climate change impacts that are not addressed. there's a big call for green infrastructure and an emphasis on that. And also several comments about the Resilient 305 plan, whether the Back Bay study was consistent with that plan. So just reflecting back on those public comments, what I would like to do now is open to the committee and hear your thought, if anyone has any thoughts about this plan and what thoughts about what we should do as a committee. Patrick.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So my main concern is the timing of all this, and I think I heard Frances Colomb, she was added her comment there, and I agree very much with what she was saying, is that it seems like the timing for public comment on this perfectly aligned with when the world just went completely upside down. And I think that's we need to do better than that. We need to engage the community better, and people need more of an opportunity to make sure they understand what's going on. So I am very much supportive of a recommendation, whether it's something official that comes from our body or if it's a recommendation to the city manager to try to extend the public comment period, because I just think people need more time. I know even with myself, I'm very engaged with the environment. I'm on this committee, and the last 2 months, it's been really hard to do other things as we're dealing with personal life issues and health issues and all these scary things. So I think it would be a very wise and prudent decision to give us more time. And also, I think if we look in past history with the Army Corps of Engineers, we've seen examples of projects that have happened that have maybe happened a little hastily. I know stuff that happened in South Beach and how it related to coral reefs in the area. So I think we just need to be really careful. And this would, to me, be a very poor choice of time to rush through such a large and impactful project. I think we need a little more time.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm going to pivot to Alan Dodd. Alan, do you have any updates on where the city is on this issue?
Okay. Well, the city is doing our analysis just like all of you are, but I do need to let you know that the county, Miami-Dade County, is the local sponsor for the project. They have already requested a 30-day extension, which the Corps is considering. So the ask has already been made.
Is 30 days enough?
30 days is typically what the Corps will consider because they're held to certain timeframes to deliver the report. It's a 3-year study that they're completing that is authorized by Congress. So they have to produce that report within that time period. 30 days is the most I've seen them do for an extension.
Okay, well, and do you have anything else you wanted to, any other background from the city's perspective? What kind of analysis you're undertaking and what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think there's a lot in the report, and it's very important as you're looking at what they did and what they didn't do to recognize the Corps' planning process. It's a very deliberate process to use across the state, but it's really based on net economic benefits. And that is what they are required by law to do for a coastal storm risk reduction project. So they did consider nature and natural and nature-based approaches. They did agree to do that down in Cutler Bay because it produced the greatest economic benefits compared to other means. In the city of Miami, their economic analysis led a different path, which something a little bit more structural in nature, where we're talking about flood walls and surge barriers. Okay, and that's where you really have to read into the economic appendix of their report to understand how those trade-offs were evaluated. But they did look at different alternatives. I would say there's a lot in this as a draft report, but this is their first attempt to say, here's how we can maximize the benefits to the city in relation to the cost. It has a 9.4 benefit to cost ratio, which is tremendous for a study of this scale and magnitude to have that. But it's a draft report because they want this feedback, and then they can go back in and look at doing changes or try to satisfy the needs. We definitely, from a city, we have a lot of things that we're concerned about, particularly dealing with the flood walls and the impacts it would have to egress during emergencies, what it would look like aesthetically. Because we're building features in our downtown area and in neighborhoods. So we don't want just gray infrastructure. These are all things that I hope would be addressed in comments, and then the Corps would consider.
Do other committee members have thoughts on having seen the report, or any initial thoughts on reactions? Wayne, are you speaking? Did you unmute yourself?
I just unmuted. I was going to make a comment. I'm just, thinking, because of the changes in our economic environment as a result of the pandemic, how likely is it that these things will actually happen, and what can we do as a committee to see from an economic financial standpoint, what's the city, how is the city going to change as resiliency is a needed, sustainability and resiliency are needed, but now with the budget cuts, I think that are going to be coming, and the lack of revenue that the cities are going to have or the county's going to have, what's going to change for the agendas that we have and how we should address that? Is that part of what the federal government may do in the Back Bay study, or anything that we're recommending or discussing tonight? What can we do to make sure that we don't end up getting a back seat again on these issues? Because things are going to change, and financially, the markets are already reflecting the change of the pandemic, which I think is going to last probably through the winter, from what I'm hearing from my sources. And I think that this is a low item on the totem pole for a lot of areas now that we have other issues to deal with.
So, sorry, Wayne, sorry.
So my question is, what can we do with regards to talking about or adding some kind of stipulation that these things actually don't get derailed, or that things stay on track? Because I think it's likely we're going to see a lot of changes in what our government does, and resiliency has always kind of taken a back seat, and we were starting to get momentum on a lot of things, and now unfortunately the pandemic came and it's changed the world. So how do we deal with that issue? How do we take that in consideration? Is just voting on something enough, or should we add something or have another resolution that maybe grab some attention on making sure these things actually get implemented and get done?
Anybody want to comment? Jose, are you unmuting yourself?
Yeah, there's, so both to piggyback off what Wayne and also something that Alan mentioned, the county is the main sponsor, and we are, we're in the mix only because we're in the area that it's being affected. I would think that, and I'll let Alan chime in on this, but maybe we should be advocating and to the county commission, to our equivalent, and not direct equivalent, but the Biscayne Bay Task Force is another one that comes to mind that may weigh in on it. This is like a huge project, and although there's a lot of issues that is very concerning, and as an aside, this is really just a kind of a FEMA project, less of a holistic project. But I mean, it's the federal government. So Alan, can you explain more about the local sponsor and what that means about the deciding factor for things?
Okay, so this is a coastal storm risk reduction study. It's not a resilience study, and it is very limited in what it's trying to address. It's damages due to storm surge and risk to life. So that is why the economic analysis is so important in what they're doing. As they will, over the next year, they will take this general plan that they have, and then they will attempt to optimize it to work a little bit more on alignments of where things will be, on what the features would look like. But it's only going to provide storm surge reduction benefits. If we want to have other things such as recreational amenities added onto it, instead of having just a seawall, to figure out a way to take that area between the current waterfront area and where the seawall will be and make it into a linear park. We have the option to do that as part of a locally preferred plan. It's just that us and the county would have to pay for the difference in cost of doing that. And I've seen this in a lot of projects where the local governments would agree to pay that incremental difference to get something that meets their needs, whether it's from an aesthetic point of view, to add more nature-based features to it, to really fill in the gaps to where, for things that the federal government by law cannot provide for us. And I think that's what Jose was trying to get to.
So there's some real opportunities here, which I think, like echoing what Wayne's point is, we really want to make sure that, you know, that these kind of federal programs do benefit our community. But we also want to make sure, I mean, what I'm hearing coming from public comments, and I think these are issues we've discussed a lot on this committee, is a question of, is the cost benefit analysis really reflective of the community as a whole? And I will confess this is not my expertise, but having looked at comments to the plan and the plan itself, it does, the fact that it's based on property values does raise questions about whether they're the benefit that they're claiming to have is a benefit for all. Patrick.
Just sort of maybe it's an overly simplistic observation, but if it's framed in an economic point of view, and our economic revenue of the city is driven by taxes, wouldn't this disproportionately benefit, or wouldn't you, if you were looking at it economically, wouldn't you disproportionately, strategically try to benefit properties that were higher value than those that are less? I mean, isn't there an intrinsic problem with approaching something like this in that frame of mind? I'm just asking. I'm not sure.
Jane.
Alan may be able to articulate this better than I, but I just want to say that in their analysis, initial analysis of prioritizing areas to come up with improvements, there was an overlay of socioeconomic vulnerability using the Social Vulnerability Index, with storm surge vulnerability, with sea level rise. And that's really how the Little River area and the Miami River area, and population density. So it was population, socioeconomic vulnerability, as well as property and other critical assets, property values and critical assets, that led to the areas of priority. So that's why the Miami River and Little River have a number of, have the most significant investments. They looked at the whole county, and Miami ended up being an area where they recommended the most structural measures, for sure. Many non-structural measures in other areas that do have a mix of high population and mix of income levels. Alan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think you hit on a key part there, is that the study really, if you look at just in the Miami River area, the main feature is the surge barrier, which prevents surge flooding events from occurring all the way up the Miami River, almost all the way back to the airport. It is providing protection for thousands and thousands of residents. In order to construct that feature, that's what drove the need to create the flood wall, so that you don't bypass the surge barrier. So they did look at the economics, and it's actually not the District 2, the waterfront areas on the Biscayne Bay, that are drove those economic benefits. It's the protection that we're providing for the Miami River. It's the same thing when you go up to the Little River area and in other parts of it. In addition to those structural measures, though, you also need to look at the real estate and the other parts on it, because they are providing protection for private residences that are at extreme risk, either through elevation or flood proofing, and they're providing protection for most critical facilities in the county, which is our police stations, our fire rescue stations, water treatment plants, and other things that we need to continue forward and recover quickly after a storm. So it is a very large, complex package, but it's trying to look at how do we maximize the damages and the impacts to houses throughout the city. And Jane did hit on what they couldn't do it all, so they did use the socioeconomic indexes to decide where do we need to focus our efforts for this study. And Miami and the Little River were two of the areas that came up very strongly as the priority for them to study.
Okay, I think Ronaldo Borges, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that this is in general a design issue as well. And the Corps of Engineer has a pretty bad record in terms of coming into communities and doing sensible design work, right? They're very effective in implementing engineering solutions. My concern is that I still really haven't seen the detailing on some of these solutions and how they may actually affect urban situations, residential neighborhood situations. We have seen, of course, different parts of the world built walls very effectively to protect themselves, but we also see the detrimental impact of building walls. So, I've tried to get the American Institute of Architects, to get involved and to maybe sponsor some workshops. But, we were hit with this pandemic, and I think the priorities have shifted, right? A lot of people don't want to be involved in design workshops right now because they're trying to sort of survive this. So in a way, it's kind of a timing issue. And as Alan was saying, the norm is that they give a 30-day extension. Well, the world has changed, right? So I think that the norm is not what we should be thinking about. We should be thinking about extending something that's potentially has a detrimental impact to the overall community. I mean, this has a large footprint in the entire South Florida landscape. So I would want us as a committee to perhaps, speak loudly that we should slow this down a little bit, because the Corps of Engineers is also famous for coming into communities and doing what they need to do and ask for forgiveness later, okay? And we don't want that to be the case with this issue. I think it's way too critical. So there are a lot of unanswered questions for me as a designer, as an urbanist, that I still don't see clearly in all the presentations. So it's primarily, I see it driven by engineering criteria, and there are a lot of issues that come up, as well as socioeconomic issues and how smaller, communities will be impacted by something like this. I mean, we know that the only way to protect the community for storm surge is to build the walls. Okay, this is not high technology, right? So it's just a matter of how that gets detailed. It's almost like, the way I see it is almost those walls that we see along the freeways, right? Those kind of walls sort of being disruptive throughout communities, without perhaps, proper, sensible detailing and design solutions. So that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
I think those are excellent points. Thank you for bringing those up. I'm also going to say, I think it's unrealistic for, this is such an immense plan, and to give a 30-day extension is, I would advocate for longer. I mean, from our committee's perspective, we don't even usually meet in August. I mean, we can agree, we can agree to meet since we've been on kind of hiatus, but I think we need time to be able to raise issues and make statements about this as well. Alan.
Yeah, I just want to say that the Corps will be coming and giving a presentation at the City Commission meeting this Thursday as well, and they will be hearing some of the comments from the commissioners. So that is the last time that we will have any type of interface with the Corps prior to the end of the period if they do not authorize that extension.
And that's going to be around 11:30 to 12, right, Alan?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
So that's a good recommendation to send your comments to the commission for a public comment,
Yeah.
the way they hear it.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Jose, are you suggesting that committee members do that, or do you suggesting that we do that as a committee?
Not as I would say committee members and our respective circles. In theory, we could do, a resolution, I guess. Dan, can we?
You can, but a resolution wouldn't be heard.
Right, it wouldn't get to the city commission.
Right.
It would just have to go through, it would just be heard through word of mouth. Hey, they talked about this. That's a good point.
Well, Jane, were you going to add anything?
The only thing I wanted to reiterate, I think it was Alan that started to talk about the non-structural measures. I know one of the comments was this only handles storm surge and not sea level rise. This non-structural measures of elevating, flood proofing properties will actually address sea level rise, other flooding concerns at the same time. So definitely take a look at those as well, because I think those do hit more resilience marks for us broadly. And to Alan's point, that the river barriers were really the main focal point, and then the surrounding flood walls were really to make sure that the storm surge doesn't go around those river barriers and hit the rest of the, still go up the river and still hit the community. So those are important perspectives when you look at the report. That's it. But I do encourage you all, I think that's a very good idea to, you can submit public comments recorded ahead of time by phone or video, as well as written in like people are doing now. There are various modes of doing public comment for the commission meeting.
Yeah, so I would like to suggest that committee members reach out in that way. I guess you also have the opportunity to reach out to your own commissioners personally and express your views. I think the things that have come up today by committee members are all need to be heard by the commission. And what I would suggest is that when we next meet, hopefully we will be in the extension period, and maybe we can have some more informed discussion about this, having had more of a chance to look at the report and digest and talk to experts. We could even bring in experts if we want to present to the committee their analysis. And hopefully we'll hear analysis from city as well, what you've been working on, Alan. So I'd like to wrap up that. Oh, sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I think it's important. I plan to reach out to my commissioner, but I'm also going to make sure I comment on public comment, because I think it's important to have a record of this, because I'm worried that if this gets pushed through and they move forward and they don't listen to us, it's important for us to have a record to say, hey, we told you to slow down, you didn't listen to us. So if we can't pass a resolution, which makes sense because it won't get seen until way down the road, I think reaching out to the commissioners and putting something on the record is important.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. Let's. I would like to encourage people to do that. Timing is so the commission meeting is on Thursday. So this Thursday, is that right? 8.
Yes, and I'm going to ask Ray to send around to all the committee members the details on how to do public comment.
Thank you. Great. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for that discussion. I guess to be continued if there is indeed an extension. Okay, so back to the agenda. We are now we're on this item to be voted on, sea level rise projections. Jane Gilbert. Jane.
Thank you. So as you all are aware of the Southeast Florida Climate Change Compact, they released their third update to the Unified Sea Level Rise projections in late 2019 in December. And then the report just recently, full guidance document recently came out a couple months ago. And I thought that the city's never formally adopted the, although we are using it in our planning for capital projects and land use plan updates to land use plans. And certainly the climate ready strategy is all based on using some of those projections. I thought it was important for this city to adopt the updated Unified Sea Level Rise projections. The 4 counties have either done it or are in the process. Miami Beach is in the process, and several other municipalities. And just some updates of what this is and the reason these Unified Sea Level Rise projections are so important is in early days of climate adaptation planning, the counties found that they were using different projections, and that created challenges when they went to pursue grant funding together, or when they were had infrastructure interacting with each other, right? So within the city, we have county roads, state roads, we abut other municipalities. It's really important that we have consistent planning projections in our models, et cetera, so that we are able to shift from the 2015 projections to the 2019 projections in our stormwater master plan. We built that into how that was created, knowing there would be updates. Basically, some of the shifts in those projections are that they're using the year 2000 instead of 1992 as a base year, that they're using 2040 as a 20-year plan, and 2070, and then the year 2120 as the different time horizons for the projections. And then I would say over the 2015 projections, the projections are roughly 2 inches greater for the year 2030, because the 2015 were 2030, 2060, and 2100. So it's 2 inches greater for 2030, 3 to 7 inches greater for 2060, and 2 to 2 inches greater for 2100. So anyway, that's my recommendation, is that we go ahead and adopt these. We are generally using the NOAA medium high curve, which is higher end of the we recommend planning in our internal we can. Certainly less critical infrastructure that has cost implications, we might lower projection for the life cycle. But what we're trying to do is build in either a 50 projection in any new capital infrastructure, or the life cycle of that infrastructure if it's greater. So that's basically what the resolution said. It would be ideal if we could have this committee recommend it to go forward to commission.
Any thoughts from the committee on this? Patrick.
Jane, I may have misunderstood how you phrased it, but how have the projections changed from it was 2015 and 2019? Choose a specific time out in the future, how have the projections changed as they've gotten more information?
So basically they use the old one used both Army Corps and NOAA projections. The new projections are IPCC as the lowest curve, and then all NOAA projections, intermediate, high, and extreme. These are updated projections that happened in 2017, so it was after the 2015, and they're specific to the region. So what it means is that there's a higher projection of sea level rise for each of the horizon. And they just shifted. I can share the screen with the new projection curves if you want.
I'm mostly just curious if it's going up, staying the same, or going down.
It's gone up. The projections are higher. Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely higher. They're, like I said, they're over the 2015 projections. They're 2 inches higher for 10 years from now in 2030. They're 3 to 7 because it's a range inches higher for 2060, and it's 2 to 22 inches greater for 2100 because the range gets larger.
Any other questions or comments here?
Let me just say something real quick. So when it comes to these projections, right? The scientists that I've been talking to always remind me that no matter what these projections are right now, they tend to be more conservative, and perhaps, the real situation is going to be worse. So, I think that affects the sort of the mindset of how we look into the future and how we try to protect the community. So this is important that we are listening to the science and to the models and understanding that most of the times, every time these reports come out, it's always incremental.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point also, that we have to recognize that we should probably tie the resolution to, as we move forward and there are updates, that we need to be incorporating those as well, and not have this be, I'm sure that the city will take that into account, but I guess we could add language to the resolution that reflects that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Patrick, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was kind of going to say the same thing. Is this a commitment to just a single projection, or is it a commitment to the process of updating future projections? Because it seems just like what you said, that like logistically getting all of the stakeholders committed to the same program makes sense based on everything Jane's saying. But then recognizing that this is constantly going to be changing, so everybody has to change together, is important.
Right. So I can build something into that language. We do have to have some sort of figures that we have to use for purposes. But we always have to take into account, for instance, in the Stormwater Master Plan, we're asking it to be modeled at certain inches rather than time periods, because we knew that the time period when we'd hit those inches was going to shift. So that was one way to build some adaptability into that modeling. We can always update the model as well, but that was, so I think both having a projection curve, but also understanding that it's a shifting target is important, and we can build that into the language.
By way of background, Jane, also there's no formal language in city legislation that ties the city's capital projects to a sea level curve at all, right? This would be the first.
No, I mean, we've been using that.
Yeah, but it's
not a formal resolution, no.
Yeah. So I do think it's important to have something like this, and I would be comfortable with just adding another line that says, whereas these reports are updated every so often, that we should be using that guidance as it evolves.
Yeah.
That's not terrible wording, but maybe
we can work on it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other comments on this? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Jane. I think that's great progress, and it's exciting to see that.
Do you want to vote on it, or do you want?
I think, what it sounds like is, I don't know if you would vote for the provision that that language gets added.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah.
Mr. Goldberg, is that okay?
I apologize. Can you just articulate what the motion would be? It would be to add the.
We would vote on this, recognizing that there was going to be additional wording on it that reflects the fact that they're going to tie the planning to the latest version of the sea level rise projection.
Yeah. This item's already on the agenda, so you're good as far as public comment. It would just be a motion for that item with that amendment.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a move or move to vote on it? Patrick.
I move that we vote to approve this, what do we call this? I always forget the terms. This resolution with the amendment that the city will adopt all the most recent versions of these projections moving forward.
Great. Well said. You get that, Ronaldo?
I will second that.
Okay, we get a second from Jose.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Maybe we should put a time to it because all of our capital projects are on a 5-year rolling strategic plan. So you might, if we move the needle too much, might significantly change it. I don't know if anyone else from the administration wants to chime in. Someone? No?
I would just say that this gets updated every 5 years. It's based on the best scientific data we have, and it is tailored to the South Florida region. So if you adopt it now and then they subsequently update it and change it to be more accurate, it's better for the city, and we can incorporate that into projects as we move forward.
And I second that motion.
Okay, so let's do a roll call vote. I'm going to go down the names of all the members. I'll start with Keelan.
Aye.
Aye. Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. Ronaldo Borges?
Yes.
Jose?
Aye.
Wayne?
Yes.
Okay, and Amy, yes. So the resolution passes unanimously. Oh, sorry, Robert, I keep forgetting.
That's twice.
Robert, I didn't get you on my list for the first time. Ah! Robert.
Aye.
Thank you.
I've never felt more unloved in my life.
I'm so sorry. If anybody should feel loved here, it's you. I'm probably, after all you've been through, new to the job. Okay, so the resolution passes unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
So I just have one rather big update as a staff update. Hold on, let me get back to my screen here. Okay, so my big announcement is that I will be stepping down as Chief Resilience Officer at the end of July. And I will absolutely see through a smooth transition. We have an awesome staff team here that are also on to help see through the transition. And hopefully, you know, I may even come back on certain specific projects for the city. This is a decision that's come over a long period of time, reflecting on my own needs for better work-life balance. And I've got just a couple more years with my kids and just wanna be a little more present than I've been able to be.
Well, Jane, I don't know where to begin with thanking you for all the work that you've done. I've always marveled at how is it possible that you could be a parent and be at all these different meetings and be so present for all this enormous problem that our city faces and opportunity that our city faces. So let me just say my true deep thanks for the effort that you've put in and the work you've done and the staff that you've built, and it's great. And we hope, I'll just speak on my behalf, but as chair of this committee, we will see that the good work that you've done over these many years keeps moving forward. And I'll open it to the committee members who I know have interacted so much with Jane. If you want to say anything, please do.
Wayne, I'd just like to say, as someone who was on the selection committee who selected Jane, it was a great honor, and we knew that she was the right person to be the first CRO for the city of Miami. And Jane, it's always been a pleasure to work with you during the 5 years that I was the chair of this committee, and even before that, when I knew you in the private sector. And I look forward to working with you again, I hope, in the private sector. And I think you did a marvelous job and set a great example for the future of what hopefully will be a sustainable and resilient Miami. We couldn't have done it without you. You've done a great job.
Yes. Patrick.
I would say, selfishly, I'm incredibly bummed, but that's really just a testament to how talented and dedicated Jane has been to this job. I have the benefit of meeting a lot of people around the world and talk about the environmental crisis as sort of a whole. And I've used my experience on this committee, and specifically the leadership that Jane has given it, as an example of that things are getting better. When I first joined this committee, I remember it was around the era that you couldn't even say climate change in certain levels of Floridian government, which was just ridiculous, and how much that has changed in a relatively short period of time is testament to Jane's hard work, her team, and leadership. And I feel pretty positive about where we're going with respect to the environmental crisis and resilience and sea level rise, because I know people like Jane exist. So I'm bummed, but it's been a great honor, and you've done such a tremendous job. And I wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Oh, I see Ronaldo raising his hand.
Yes, well, briefly, Jane and I have known each other way before she joined the resiliency leadership here. It's a great loss for us, but I understand the work-life balance is tough. This is a super complex issue and is no easy task. So with great respect, and of course, hoping to continue to see you around, I think it's good to know that you're not going to disappear on us. I really thank you for everything you've done. I mean, it's an amazing task that you took on. I don't know if you should thank Wayne or not, because, he got you into a mission that has been a real challenge, I'm sure. So thank you so much for everything you've done. And I'm sure you're going to continue to work for the benefit of the environment and the future of this beautiful community. So thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm a resident of the city. I've been here 25 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I care very deeply about this community. And I have to thank Wayne. It's been the most engaging, exciting, certainly challenging job I've ever had, but it's been a great opportunity. The city really does have a very strong team. And I think it's really important for this committee to continue to advocate for that holistic resilience and sustainability lens to be brought to its citywide strategy, to its capital infrastructure plans, to its land use plans. It is a truly cross-departmental role, and beyond departmental, it's a cross-jurisdiction and cross-sector role in terms of building partnerships and building the story of what actions need to happen to respond to certainly the climate change crisis, but the broader resilience needs as well, as they're addressed in the Resilient 305. So I just am going to lean on you to continue to advocate that. Wayne mentioned the difficult times earlier that the city's across the globe are facing in terms of economically, but certainly Miami is not alone. It's being hit pretty hard. And so I think it will be hard to get the leadership's attention on these issues and continued work. But it really, in another way, this pandemic unveils how important it is to address our vulnerabilities and to address them ahead of time before we get hit. So your work is critical, and I am not going away. So you can always reach out to me.
Thank you, Jane. I'm only sorry that we're not in the City Hall so we could all give you a round of applause, but let's do it anyway. Thank you. That was a resounding applause that you maybe didn't hear, but it should have been felt. Okay, so let's move on back to the agenda. We are on presentations now, and we have a presentation by Curtis and Rogers. We're supposed to be able to promote them here to be able to present, and they're going to be presenting work that they have been doing on Jose Marti Park, the waterfront park. And here we have Ida Curtis.
Yes. Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect. So I want to see how I can share my screen to do the presentation.
Have permission.
I don't have
permission to do that. Can we? I don't have the authority
I
to
just
make
updated
you
the settings, so you should be able to do it now, Ida.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay. Great. Okay, I've rejoined as one of you. So,
hi,
thank you very much. Hi, good evening, everybody. Jane, I don't know what to say. I'm speechless with this. I'm also very, impressed with your work, and I don't know, tough shoes to fill. That's all I can say. But I do want to share what we've been working on, and I want to be as brief as possible, even though it's been a tremendous amount of work. So with that, let me share my screen. Okay, let me know when you can see it. Is it up?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so good evening. My name is Aida Curtis. I'm a landscape architect. I'm one of the principals with Curtis and Rogers. We have this amazing team. We've been working together for the past, I would say, 8-9 months on the Jose Marti Adaptive Redesign Project. And the purpose of this project is to provide a toolbox of solutions that the city can use to adapt to the different climate challenges that it's facing. And just to give you a little brief overview of the Jose Marti Park, the park is a total of a 13-acre parcel located on the western side of downtown Miami, just immediately fronting the Miami River, and I-95 goes over portions of the park. And for the purposes of this study, we are focusing on approximately 6 acres of the park, which includes all the waterfront portion and portions of the land side on the soft areas. We are not touching the area. If you're familiar with the park, we are not addressing at this stage the gym, the community center, the pool, or the fields. Just taking you a little bit back through a historical panorama. Miami has always been known to be a tourist destination, and it was even believed that in 1922, this site was the site of the Miami Canoe Club. as we continue through the ages, the Miami River is a slough that comes from the Everglades and deposits fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean. As we continued our development of the city, and the city began a lot of the construction, the site was the former staging area for the Dynamite Cement Company. And in the 60s, it also served as part of the tent city for the Cuban exile population with that revolution. In 1985, the park was developed to what you see currently today, which is the swimming pool, a playground, fields, a hard edge along the river, and the community center. Want to talk a little bit about, you've mentioned social vulnerability. This park serves a very vulnerable population. We have high levels of the dark colors indicate the high levels of vulnerability. We have a community that has a median household income which is below average. It is a mostly Hispanic community. It has a low level of education and is mostly renters in this community. The climate issues that are facing the city, in particular this site is a low area. You can see the light green color is a low area, and it's a low area that fronts the river, as it is typical in many of the areas in the Little Havana and downtown area. It has a very low coverage of canopy, therefore increasing the urban heat island. We also have saltwater intrusion. You can see the intrusion boundary here, which indicates that the park is just part of the saltwater intrusion in the area through the park. This is a map that we did with compound flooding, and it looks at the city, the current day flooding without any sea level rise projections, and then with what would happen with a 1 foot of sea level rise, and then with 2 feet of sea level rise. You can see the pink boundary of the park and essentially the low-lying neighborhood and how everything gets impacted. These are actual data sheets that we took, and we took pictures of what happens in king tide. And what we have seen over the past 2 years is essentially the king tide for last year really comes and floods up to the mid-level of the park. Our current study is really focusing, even though we did focus on a large scale area, our construction documents will be focusing on the Florida Inland Navigation District grant scope, which includes a retrofit of seawall and outfalls, kayak launch, water taxi, living shorelines, and stormwater management for the park. All of this we are undertaking, looking at through the lens of economy, ecology, and equity, and ensuring that this toolbox of solutions is one that can be used throughout the city and really to demonstrate to the residents and to all of us what it is to be living with water. We have had several inputs, several design inputs. We had a peer review session last December, and we asked in this tree that we had, we asked our peer group to really take a look at and give us feedback of what they saw were top issues in terms of ecology, equity, economy. And water quality seemed to be on the top of the concerns, as well as the access to the waterfront, balancing the need for all the users. We also had a community picnic in December, and interestingly enough, a lot of the residents came out, the mayor came out, and a lot of them were very interesting in having more plants in the park, more shade area, water fountains, pool programs, and they really were wanting to have more nature-based solutions to the park. We had a community input workshop in February 2020, and we asked again the residents and that attended the workshop what type of water edge they wanted, what type of facilities they wanted, and it was very interesting that nature-based solutions and a nature type of park was one that kept on again surging up in the top of of the priorities for the neighborhood. And I know you were speaking earlier about the unified sea level rise projections of the South Florida Regional Climate Change Compact. And we are using the latest curves, the latest tables that were out. We're using those as a basis as per our contractual arrangement with the city. And we are looking for this particular exercise, we are planning for the 2030 projections, which the mean high water with king tide projects the water elevation at 2.9. We're assuming a 3, and 2060, 4.5, and the 2080 at 6. So that's what the planning for our park, the basis is that we're using. So the first thing that we did is we did this this modeling, and this is not a hydrologic model. It's mainly a topographic model. As we modeled the neighborhood, the river, and the park, and we said, okay, what would happen if we did nothing in the park and we had the 2030 conditions? So you can see that if the water elevation was at 3, a lot of the seawall and the bulkhead edges would be compromised. And in addition, the neighborhood also is compromised because the neighborhood is very low and floods into the river. And then we said, well, what if we did improvements to the park? And our proposed improvements, you can see how that would really help in protecting the park and the neighborhood. The interesting thing to note here is that the park, the protection is only as good as the limit of the park is, but we have vulnerabilities that happen on the north side, which is an FDOT-owned parcel, and the private parcel to the south. Also, they would need to make improvements to their edge conditions in order to be as protective as our solutions are for the park and the neighborhood. This is the conditions at 2060. You can see that most of the land, which is under I-95, is very low, would be completely flooded. And then again, with our improvements, the park would be protected. And then we have some areas that we are planning to have depressed in the park, and the park essentially serving as a sponge for the neighborhood water that comes through the watershed into the park and to the river. Our bulkhead elevations and our elevations at the edge of the water right now, we are planning them to have them at elevation 6 NAVD, with the possibility of raising them to the elevation 8. I want to talk a little bit about what happens with king tide and compound flooding. These are pictures taken recently in the neighborhood, May 25th. It really is quite impressive. The vulnerability of this entire neighborhood is very low, and you can see what happens. This is part of our historic Riverview district. So really, it's an area that needs our attention immediately. In our long-range plan, in our looking at future solutions, our recommendation and strategic steps for the city to take would be to acquire the parcel to the north and make that a resilient parcel like the park is, acquire parcels to the south, and parcels further to the west to provide the connectivity that we need for stormwater protection. We are also working with the city on the Southwest Streetscape Master Plan, which encompasses this area and proposes solutions such as blue roads that would collect water from the neighborhood, bring it in, convey it through the park into the river. These are some of the strategies that we are developing for the park, and really they're all strategies that really are intended to protect the park and the neighborhood, to collect the water from the neighborhood, channel it through the streets, channel it through the park into the river, connect the community, connect not only north-south through the Riverwalk connections, but connections within the neighborhood to the schools and other parks in the neighborhood. And finally, cool and collect, provide additional canopy to diminish the urban heat island effect. In our strategy specifically related to the park, in our Connect strategy, we are proposing a continuous river walk that eventually would tie into the proposed development to the south and the north to the DOT parcel, as well as sidewalks that connect from the neighborhood and within the park through all of the areas. We have our collect strategy, which brings the blue streets that are proposed as part of the Southwest Streetscape plan through the park. We have our proposal is to install baffle boxes to remove some of the sediments and nutrients that come from these waters. And then we have essentially, we are creating a big sponge in the park, which is a blue-gray sponge under the hardscape of the park via pervious pavement. And then with the green, blue-green sponges, creating areas where the water can filter through. We also are installing the proposal to install tidal valves to prevent the flooding back into the neighborhood. So this is some of the strategy that essentially would collect the water and allow for the permeability through the park and also out to the river. Our borings indicate that our soils are very porous and have good filtration to be able to infiltrate if we make the park pervious and be able to convey back into the aquifer. These are some of our collect strategies for the street, for the blue, gray, green sponges within the park with contouring of the park, and then our living shoreline and strategies along the water. This is our protect toolbox, and essentially what we are doing here is we are creating a variety of typologies for the different conditions. The current bulkhead in the park is at best at fair condition, requiring it to be replaced, refurbished, renovated. So what we're doing is a combination of all to show the strategies. The southernmost portion, we are doing a retrofit of the current bulkhead and adding a terraced living shoreline back towards the land, and this would be under the I-95 passageway. You can see in the dotted areas where we would plant mangroves, and then the seagrasses, and then a benched seawall for further exploration. The magenta arrows show that we would be preserving the views from the entrances from each one of the entrances of the neighborhood. So we would be preserving the river views. In the middle section of the park, we are proposing a traditional bulkhead, concrete bulkhead, but it would have a living seawall as a face for it. And that would be for the potential growth of oysters and any other organisms that help to filter the water, along with a living shoreline and terrace to the upland of the park. This would be the area where we have our taxi, our water taxi, that would be parked here and serve the citizens of Miami and the neighborhood here. This last northern portion would be our living shoreline component, and we are proposing a living shoreline flanked by two platforms that are steady for the viewing and recreation, and then connected via a floating platform. This would serve educational opportunities and opportunities for the neighborhood residents to really explore what it is to be within the water and get closer to the water and understand what's happening, along with a canoe launch on the kayak launch on the northern end of the park. These are some of the strategies. As I said, this is intended to be a toolbox of solutions that the city can use in the different conditions. So we would be having details and having all of these solutions permitted and ready to go. In terms of the cool strategy, we are looking at the transects, the vegetational transects that exist typically in Miami-Dade County, and recreating them in the park, and essentially focusing our activities on increasing the canopy area of the park. One of the areas that we're focusing in also is the underneath the area of I-95, which is very shaded. We are planning on doing phytotechnologies and testing plants to filtering the contaminants from the parking lot. These are the transects that we've worked on, and essentially they all have a component of the increasing the shade in the neighborhood, all with different types of plants that are all native to our South Florida community. These are some of the renderings and some of the sections that show you how all of these strategies are interconnected with each other. This is the northernmost parcel and talks about how we sculpt the park and have the walkways to connect, the shade to cool, the collection of the water, and then the protection of the neighborhood and the park. This is the middle section where we can see the water taxi, and we can see the hard bulkhead that would have a living seawall here, and the shade and other strategies. In terms of our specific design components within the park, we are proposing 3 gateways, and we are using the motif of repurposing shipping containers as gateways, as a tribute to the working river and as a tribute to innovation and what they can become. So each of these entrances, we are proposing that they would be sponsored and undertaken and managed by each of the higher college education facilities that are currently working on sea level rise and climatic solutions. And they would all be all serve for educational purposes, for testing purposes, and to demonstrate to the public what initiatives are there as we move into our future. We also are proposing 3 landmarks on the riverside, and these are the landmarks that we are calling the equity, economy, and ecology landmarks. And these would be demonstrations of what the park used to be with the tent city. It would talk about the history of the park. It would talk about events related to equity. It would be staged in the middle section adjacent to a cafecito. And the cafecito would be an economic venture, and it would serve for parties on the upper deck, and really just a area to develop and promote economic activity in the park. And the ecological landmark with an ecology of planting a tree as you would typically do in a roof garden in a building. And it would also provide opportunity for the residents of the neighborhood to look at the city in a different way than what they used to, since most of the buildings in the area are 2 to 3 stories high. So they don't get the opportunity to look at the city in this way. In terms of the programmatic elements of the park, we have color coded them, and these are the result of our community meetings and what they wanted and how they serve each of the lenses that we are operating on: the equity, economy, and ecology, and where these are and located in relationship to the park, the numbers, and how they feed the park. For playground activities, we are proposing to redo the playground that is currently there, which is very closed in, and repurpose and provide multiple play areas throughout the park, all really under the theme of agua living with nature, living within water, and all really tying to the different solutions and the different experiences that we have. We're calling the Rising Waters, the Sea Level Rise Experience, the Rock and Ridge, to talk about the Tequesta that used to live on the site and how they used to live, and they had the ridges and how it all would relate to the Rock and Ridge. And then the Coastal Cove, which would provide the children the experience of, climbing on a coral reef, or hiding in the seagrass beds, or, walking through the mangroves. So all through the lenses of nature-based play with the under-themed educational opportunities within there. For hardscape, we have used as inspiration, we are still in the exploratory process, but we use as inspiration the Everglades first for a very curvilinear, soft pattern, and we move towards it and take the inspiration from the river, which is a very smooth, simple curve, or it could even be the urban fabric of the city, the linearity of it that we are taking as a model for our sidescape and hardscape materials. In the end, this is what we are proposing for Jose Marti Park, the adaptive redesign. It's a compilation of toolboxes and all that can be done in different pieces and components for adaptation of other properties within the city. And I'll just slide through some of the renderings that we have prepared just to show you. This is the view as we come in through 2nd Avenue, and we're looking at one of the platforms, the viewing platforms, the landmark, and we have people seeing. This is the ecological landmark, the kayak launch, the light colored paving. We have the view through the cafecito and the economy landmark. And again, the opportunity to have areas for people to gather, the combination of the different water edge conditions. We have the taxi, water taxi landing. This is our seawalls, and underneath the seawalls, we would have a living seawall type of pattern for the growth of oysters and other organisms that used to live there, and the addition of shade canopy. And so with that, that is our presentation for and our vision for the Jose Marti Park. It is our intent to develop this project and the design and construction documents under the waterfront edge design guidelines. So these will be the first wedge certified project in Florida. And these are becoming the basis of really designing waterfront parks and properties within the lenses of equity, economy, and ecology, and making sure that we are balancing all the needs of the community. So with that, I open it up for questions.
Thank you very much, Ida. That's really exciting work.
Thank you.
Open it up. Jane is raising her hand there.
Yes, Jane. You're muted.
No, I know. I just unmuted. Mariana, Ida, thank you so much. That was, I just hope the committee can appreciate what a monumental planning task this has been. And I'm just so thrilled that we selected your team. This is one of 2 of our signature bond projects with the Miami Forever bond. And I think it couldn't better hit the mark in terms of what we were trying to achieve with demonstrating co-benefits of resilience through addressing heat, flooding, both rain and storm surge, equity, access. I think it really hits all the marks. Now, the big challenge is going to be, and this is where my challenge to the committee also comes, is seeing a project like this through. That when we hit hurdles of costs and permitting and whatnot, this could be, this is going to be a challenge. It's going to be higher costs, and we really need to be able to articulate the value proposition of creating such a signature piece that really becomes a role model for how the city adapts into the future. We had a conversation about too much gray infrastructure earlier with another project. I think it's really important for this committee to just stay on top of the progress of some of these both this and the Brickell Bay Drive project. And you'll hear from Suleiman on the status of the bond later, but I just want to, my hats off to you, Ida, and your team.
Thank you, Jane. And I just want to just tell the committee that our team is working diligently with the city of Miami to secure grants for the funding of this project. And the exciting thing is that there are grants available, and the grants are really generous enough to provide the funding, significant funding for the park. And it will take a city commitment. It will take a commitment to maintain the park, to monitor all of the wonderful amenities that we're putting in, how we are cleaning the water from the neighborhood, how we are protecting the neighborhood. So it's going to be a joint effort, but the good news is that there are funding available out there, and we are diligently working with the city in acquiring those funds.
Great, thanks, Ida and Jane. Are there any questions, comments from the committee? Patrick, go ahead.
Hi, Ida. I thought that was a really great presentation, and I'm kind of reiterating what Jane was saying. I think that it hit upon so many of the little intricate themes that we've talked about on this committee over the past few years. So it was pretty cool to see something have all those elements kind of come together in such a well thought out plan. I thought that was really exciting. So well done. I've got just a couple questions. My main question is, my first reaction is this kind of solution seems like the kind of thing a lot of people would want everywhere in the city. And one of the fundamental questions I think we've had is how effective green solutions can be to treat runoff water and to clean the water, to keep the river cleaner. And I'm wondering, thinking you were mentioning about how water is physically flowing from surrounding neighborhoods into the park, and that then you're using these innovative solutions to treat it before it enters the river. I'm wondering if, as we've talked in the past about adaptation action areas and opportunities to leverage relationships with universities, do you envision this park as being a place where we could try to better understand the efficacy of these green solutions as compared to gray ones? Because right now, a few blocks away from this park, there will be just regular runoff. So my main observation kind of question is, what opportunities do you see of us trying to learn something from this park that might guide how we do things elsewhere in the city?
Well, absolutely. And just, our three entrance gateways, they would serve as demonstration projects of what can be done. And our intent is for it to have like an open baffle box, so that people could understand what happens in a baffle box. As the water comes through, it passes through a series of boxes and baffles, and it starts cleaning the water, and the nutrients start, getting into sediment. So the clean water just passes, and the nutrients sink down, and the clean water just passes, and that's how the water gets cleaned. Obviously, they'll need the maintenance from the city. Another of our entrance gateways could be a demonstration of, the proper way of planting trees in urban conditions, and how the substrate can serve to store water and absorb water. So it would be kind of an open demonstration for people to see, okay, where do the roots go? And, it's kind of a glass box of demonstration of the principles of that, and really see it in action in the park. So I think the idea is that these, and all of these institutions, University of Miami, FIU, UF, they're all working with these solutions. The Sea Level Solution Center at FIU is working on really testing the efficiency and efficacy of living shorelines. They could adopt one of these and have what happens to the water where, up on, a park that does not have a living shoreline, and what's the quality of the water here in our living shoreline. So it really provides, kind of the living laboratories that our city has really been wanting to have for the longest time. So I think it's exciting, and I think the repurposement of the shipping containers and just opening them up to just, it's like a porthole to what we can, what we can all do as citizens for that.
I think it's great points, and I'm wondering, and maybe sort of a question with Amy, we've talked about Metro Lab, and I love the idea of the partnerships with the different universities. I think the idea of having demonstrations and it's in science communication is wonderful, but it seems also that we could go even deeper with data collection. Like if we're going to have a segmented off neighborhood that has a very unique capture strategy and filtration strategy, and we can collect data in that and compare it to a baseline just down the road, to me, that seems like a hugely educational opportunity that could help motivate the creation of this park. Because beyond just the aesthetics and the social benefits of it, we might actually learn something very valuable that helps us make smarter decisions with how we treat the edge elsewhere in the city.
Exactly.
I think that's something we should keep in mind when we're trying to figure out a ways to, as Jane is saying, is kind of push this thing and get public support for it. Partnering with universities and leveraging data collection opportunities to get us more informed, to me seems like, on top of all the other wonderfully brilliant things you brought into this, makes this project such a home run for the city.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah, I agree. In the interest of time, I'd like to keep moving on the agenda, but I do want to say that Ida, I think that if there's something this committee can do to help strategically, that we should continue the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate it. It's just inspiring to see this kind of work. So thank you.
Thank you.
We are next on the agenda is Alyssa Farina is going to talk about her work on the greenhouse gas inventory. So Alyssa, take it away.
Yep, just going to share my screen. Hold on. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so hi, my name is Alyssa Farina. I am a Resilience Programs Manager for the City of Miami Office of Resilience and Sustainability. Last year, our office completed a citywide and government operations greenhouse gas inventory for the baseline year of 2018. And before I get started, I want to acknowledge that we have the intern who was critical to this effort, Alyssa Hernandez from Florida International University online. She led the data collection and management for this initiative. So if there's any questions about the methodology, she's here to answer those questions. So just some brief background about this initiative. A greenhouse gas inventory is a catalog of individual greenhouse gas contributions used to quantify an entity's contribution to climate change in a single year. As I said, we did a government operations and citywide inventory for the baseline year of 2018. The last time the city performed a greenhouse gas inventory was for the baseline years of 2006 and 2007. The results of that are documented in the city's My Plan report, which was published in 2008. And it was also used as a baseline for setting climate goals for the city's first climate action plan. Just super brief on our methodology and what I'll be terminology I'll be using today. We use the ICLEI ClearPath online software and use globally recognized standardized protocols for this effort. One of the limitations of the 2006 inventory and in My Plan is that there was not a methodology report. So we made sure that we had a very detailed methodology report for this initiative so we could exactly replicate our process in future years. And then lastly, I will be discussing emissions in units of carbon dioxide equivalent. These are calculated using the global warming potentials from the IPCC Fifth Assessment Report. Okay, so starting with government operations, total greenhouse gas emissions for the City of Miami government operations dropped from approximately 82,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2007 to 60,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2018. So this is a 27% emissions reduction, which meets the My Plan goal of reducing government operations emissions by at least 25% from the 2007 baseline. So this is how the emission breakdown. This is the 2007 emissions breakdown. This is the 2018 emissions breakdown. The proportions by sector are approximately the same between the two inventories. The largest contributor to government operations is clearly facilities and streetlights. Facilities includes all the properties that we pay electric bills for, so not the ones that we lease out. The fleet is makes up 18%, which breaks down into 11% of all of our cars and trucks, and 7% of that is the trolley fleet. So as you can see, we've had, notable reductions throughout, notably in facilities and streetlights. One, we had an increased use of natural gas in the Florida Power and Light fuel mix. I'll discuss that in a bit, but that contributes to the decrease in emissions there, as well as a good number of energy efficiency retrofits performed by the city on their own facilities, which I'll also get into later. So now citywide. Total greenhouse gas emissions for the entire city dropped from roughly 4.8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2006 to approximately 3.5 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2018. During this time, the city's population increased by roughly 16.5%. So we can use the emissions number and the city population to calculate a per capita emissions number, which is a useful metric for benchmarking the city against other cities worldwide. So I will get into that later in the presentation, but it's worth noting that the city's per capita emissions were 7.4 metric tons of carbon per person in 2018. So over this past decade, there was roughly a 27% reduction in emissions, which means we met the other My Plan goal of reducing citywide emissions by at least 25% by 2020 from the 2006 baseline. So here's the breakdown of emissions by sector in 2006. This is the breakdown in 2018. Again, roughly the same proportions. Important things to note that approximately 50% of citywide emissions come from the building sector, broken into residential and commercial. The next largest is transit with 41%, and then the balance is split between industrial, water, and solid waste emissions. So you can see here that there have been notable decreases in transportation, buildings, industrial energy. The only sector that we saw an increase in is solid waste, which is reflective of the city's growing population. So how did this all happen? There have been a lot of changes over the past decade that have contributed to this decrease in emissions. The first three things listed here are things that the city itself took on. First is the adoption and implementation of the Miami 21 zoning code in 2010. This led to development around transportation hubs and increased densification of the urban core. Secondly, the city has continuously supported low carbon multimodal transit options like the bike share program, the trolleys, and most recently, the electric scooters. And lastly, the city made major energy efficiency retrofits in its own facilities after receiving $4.7 million from the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program in 2008, and has more recently been upgrading city park lights and street lights to LEDs. Some other things that contributed to this reduction in emissions is that energy efficiency standards in the Florida Building Code have gone up over time, and that kind of dovetailed into the city passing its own sustainability requirements like LEED Silver requirements for building over 50,000 square feet and cool roofs. An extremely critical factor in this decrease is that Florida Power and Light has increased use of natural gas in their fuel mix. In 2006, it was 50%, and in 2018, it was up to 73% of their fuel mix. So as I mentioned before, we can use our per capita emissions of 7.4 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent to benchmark ourselves against other cities worldwide. City of Miami recently joined the C40 Cities Network, which is a cohort of 96 major cities worldwide that account for a quarter of the global GDP, working together on climate action. All the cities in the network are responsible for reporting their greenhouse gas emissions. This graph here is just like a portion of it, roughly half of it. But there are a lot of cities in the network that have very low emissions per capita that kind of like didn't fit on this graph. The overall per capita emissions average is 5.72 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent throughout the C40 cities network. We're going to focus on the cities with the highest per capita emissions. So since we've recently joined, our data isn't on this graph yet, but if we were, we would be situated between Portland, Oregon, and Los Angeles, slightly above the 5.72 per capita average. However, among other cities in North America that has an average of 8.2 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, we're near 1 full metric ton below the average, still situated between Portland, Oregon, and Los Angeles. More locally, the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact did a greenhouse gas inventory for the 4 counties that make up the compact in 2005 and then in 2015. So this means that they use the inventories put out by each of the counties, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, and combine them to come up with a compact total. As you can see here, per capita emissions in both the compact and the city have decreased over time. In the compact, there was an 18% per capita decrease, and the city of Miami had a 36% per capita decrease over from 2006 to 2018. So what's next? We will be using this inventory as a baseline to set new emission reduction goals as part of a carbon mitigation plan, which is also a requirement of the city's commitment to the C40 Cities Network. In addition, the city is already working on 2 programs that will help residents and business owners use energy more efficiently and help lower the city's overall emissions. One is the Building Efficiency 305 Energy Benchmarking Program, which is in partnership with Miami-Dade County and the City Energy Project, which will require large buildings in the city of Miami to publicly report their energy use and will drive energy efficiency through open market competition. The secondly is the Keep Safe Miami program, which will provide energy efficiency and weatherization audits for affordable multifamily housing buildings and assist for funding with the renovations for 2 to 3 properties. That initiative is made possible with support from the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network and Enterprise Community Partners. And so lastly, this greenhouse gas inventory is now available online. We just updated our city page today for all climate change initiatives at miamigov.com/government/climate change. So you can find that there along with our Miami Forever Climate Ready plan and a lot more information. You can contact our office at resilience@miamigov.com or me at afarina@miamigov.com. So that's my presentation, and I will take any questions.
Thank you, Alyssa. That is really good news.
It is good news.
So comments, questions from the committee? Patrick, he's awake this evening.
I feel like this is such a positive night, except for Jane leaving us. This is such great stuff. This is exactly the kind of like data-driven information that I think we've always really craved. So I applaud this work. That must have been a huge amount of analysis to do that. The presentation was awesome. And this is the kind of thing like tangible, evidence-based goal setting is like so important. I have 2 questions. My first question, and I'll ask them both and then I'll mute myself. My first question is, do you know where our per capita emissions equivalent levels are with respect to the Paris Accords global recommendations? Where are we with respect to that? How far off are we from where we need to be from those global recommendations? And my second question is, what is the process now that you've done all this work, you've set an awesome baseline, there's comparable data, what's the process of like setting a goal, like saying, okay, 2030, this is where we want to be, like we want to crush Houston or wherever, like setting a goal and then motivating the city to try to achieve that goal? What's that process look like?
I see Jane wants to comment here.
So one, with the Paris Accord, I'll have to look if they have a recommendation specifically to per capita emissions. I'm not sure they do. I mean, it's really about getting us to that no more than 1.5 Celsius raise. C40 is asking cities to commit to carbon neutrality by 2050, which is what the mayor set forth as a goal in his State of the City address in January. So we are in the process of procuring some outside professional services to work with us on developing a carbon mitigation plan. And I will tell you that even before the pandemic, we had put into the scope to put an emphasis on identifying actions that will save the city or residents or businesses money, help drive job opportunities, business opportunities locally. Now that couldn't be more critical, and or have solutions that also have a climate adaptation or a resilience benefit, right? So that they're going to have to drive multiple benefits. That's why the Resilient Housing Initiative is really a strong one that we're working on right now. It's why the Building Efficiency Program, which will ultimately save both property owners and residents on their utility bills, things like that, and drive some local business opportunities. So I think that's what we're going to be looking for, but we're going to focus on more shorter term actions because, you know, it's great to set a 2050 goal, but cities work in 4-year increments, right? So we need to set shorter term goals and in ways and shorter term emission targets. So that, and we'll be updating this much more frequently than the last time, right? So that we can see how the progress we're making. Ultimately, really, we need national, state level policies to drive this, but cities are trying to take a leadership on this. And it's really, you know, you could see how much of this was driven by FPL changing their fuel mix, right? That can make a huge difference. So, you know, we need to continue to work with those partners towards that.
And quickly, Patrick, just to reiterate what Jane said, you know, we are in the C40 Cities Network. Part of the goals of that network is to move major cities towards the Paris Accord goals. And we will continue working with them going forward as we develop this climate action plan. So they're going to be helping us set our new goals.
Tools and resources towards that. And we hope to have that plan out early 2021. But you guys will be engaged in the process.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to suggest in terms of moving forward, that we have, you know, the sort of semi-regular updates on this, that we can be providing feedback as we go, you know, as we move forward on this topic. So I'll just make a note for the minutes then, Reynaldo, if we can sort of put a placeholder for some discussion of greenhouse gas emissions progress in upcoming meetings and revisit, see if the staff have updates on that.
And I just want to say one other thing. Alyssa Hernandez is on this, and she was an intern with us at FIU, and she was outstanding. She was the driver behind collecting all the data and really finalizing all that. So I want to publicly acknowledge you. Thank you, Alyssa, for everything that you did. It was a huge...
Thank you. No, and thank you guys. Thank you, Jane. I wasn't able to say thank you for all your experience and your mentorship. So I really appreciate it. And Alyssa as well. It was a great experience. And yes, Patrick, it was a lot of data, but we got to it and happy to help.
Great. Great. Thank you, Alyssa. Alyssa and Alyssa.
Yes, it was a confusing kind of job. Yeah, we got confused a few times.
Okay, we are past 8 o'clock, which I hate to keep us moving, or I hate to go past time. But we do have one more item, and Suleiman, yeah,
I'll keep it quick.
Okay, patiently waiting. I'll turn it over to you, Suleiman. Thank you.
All right, let me go quick. All right. Okay, let me know when you guys see it. All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Suleiman Uikani. I'm with the Office of Capital Improvement, City of Miami. I'm the Miami Forever Bond Program Manager. And today I'm going to give you a quick presentation on where we are with Miami Forever Bond. And we want to go further in the strategy. So as you know, the Commission approved the Tranche 1 33 projects on December 13, 2018. That allocated about $58.6 million to Tranche 1. Infrastructure only was about 43.6. Affordable housing was 15 million. And just over a year now, we are at 4 projects in planning. And those mainly are the 4 projects on the affordable housing portion of it as they go through legal paperwork, etc. On the infrastructure part of it, we are at 5 projects. We have the A&E selection, 14 in design, 2 in bidding for construction. We have 6 projects in construction currently, and we have completed 2 of them. If you see this number, 132 projects completed, that really means because we have about 5 or so projects that are citywide projects. And you can see here that one of them is the backflow valves. We have been able to install 66. Initially, we're committed only 50, so we exceeded that. And we also had a matching funding from the FDEP, which we currently are installing more of those, and we have completed about 21. We have improved the drainage, spot drainage in 11 areas throughout the city. We have completed 3 park roofs, 3 playgrounds. We improved the access and mobility to some 24 parks, and we also have completed about 10 designs within that. Projection for the next 3 months, we have about 6 projects that are going to be in bidding for construction. 5 that are going into design and 4 into construction. So here's a project selection strategy that we're looking for each one of the categories and also the timeline. So this is a project selection and initiation timeline. We started somewhere in December of 2019 and we completed the defining the guiding themes that guide the bond projects. We identified criteria, and we developed a quantitative selection model I have presented to you in the past. Currently, right now, we are right over here at the blue area where we are identifying project sources. We have, I'll show it to you, that's coming up later, that we have identified where the projects come from. We are starting to screen and evaluate projects. We are also trying to see like where we can actually leverage and do matching funding. Ada from Curtis and Rogers, they're doing a fantastic job, I have to say that. They are also like proactive in some of the projects on the Tranche 1 where we can leverage funding as we stated. We also assessing the capacity on the of the city to see like the work that is going to come. You know, we're trying to set expectation for that, and that's coming up somewhere over here. So we plan to get a project list to the city leadership for review, and then later on to the commission agenda so that we can approve it sometimes towards the end of this year. We are then going to hopefully get it into approved and then initiate it sometimes in February and March of 2021. Some of the parallel work that is going, we're trying to improve the procurement capacity so that we can move these projects faster and complete them quicker. So the bond has 5 categories, and right now we are assessing a lot of data. As you guys mentioned, it's very important. On the sea level rise and flood prevention portion of it, as you all know, we're updating the stormwater master plan, and that plan is not going to be giving us the prioritized list of projects until probably the first quarter of the 2021. So what we did was we asked stormwater master plan, since they have gathered all the data and they have actually modeled most of the models right now, they are into calibration of the models. They could give us some early deliverables that we could consider of where we can invest. And here is like one of the maps that they have submitted us to see where it shows where we have vulnerabilities within the city in terms of flooding. Now we are in the process of actually trying to understand which one of those are we going to address only gray infrastructure, or we can do natural solutions, or we can do a combination of both. We have to continue doing the backflow valve installation. I mean, that's been proven to work well. And we have the city has about more than 400 plus that we identified. So we can continue doing that. We can improve the stormwater system backbone, which doesn't have to wait for the stormwater master plan to be completed. And then, of course, we were trying to see how we can actually do some type of surveillance and monitoring of flooding occurrences and improve that. And then, of course, in each one of these categories, as we select projects, we're trying to see how we can actually leverage funding and do matching funding. I mean, there is a lot of grants right now, the state and even the federal government that is issuing, so that we can pursue those. So in terms of the category cultures, facilities, and parks, there was one category together, but I have separated this for the purpose of this presentation. Some of the things that we are actually looking at right now is the Archimedes Theater, Olympia Theater, Fort Dallas, Historic Virginia Key Beach Museum. So these are something that we're talking about. Here comes the parks. Parks is basically what we're doing right now is we're identifying parks from the current completed heat map and the parks master plan. We're trying to see how we can do some type of program to improve the parks. One of the focus that we also trying to go forward is the recreational centers and how we can actually combine them, how we can enhance those so that they can also serve as resiliency hubs. And I know, Jane, I'm so sorry to hear you're going. You've been the champion for us in terms of getting this moving, and we're working with the county to see how we can do strategically select those recreational centers that they can serve as resiliency hubs as well. And then, of course, we want parks to give us a prioritized list to address the most needed areas for the parks in the city. And here is some from a source map is like 6 areas that they're trying to actually focus on. And as you can see here, there's like 5 and 6 is we want to also address shoreline restorations. And this is in the Sewell Park and also the Legion Park. And also those 2 quite qualify for fine leveraging funding. Going to the public safety, this is on the category in the bond that is strictly only Fire Station 10. So currently right now in the Conus Islands do a design DCP, and then later on is going to come the design and the construction of the Fire Station 10. Okay. And the roadways. So the Public Works has just completed the Pavement Condition Index, the PCI, which is going to recommend the roads that are going to be funded from this category. So what we have been doing some analysis recently, and we're still on works. This is just a rough draft, and I'm presenting it to you. We're trying to see how we're going to approach the improvement of our roads. So very poor roads and a failing road. Are we going to go small, large portions, neighborhood segments? Then are we going to address the roads that actually need drainage solutions? We're going to raise roads or only repave? So this is a preliminary map that shows actually from the PCI index where our failed and very poor roads in. But what's interesting here is that we're actually overlaying with FEMA claims, the flood claims, and also the complaints from citizens to see where we have flooding. So we can see actually we can address the flooding issues and while we improve the roads. And the map is actually done by neighborhoods. And this is done at the city flooding in 25 years. Okay, the next one is affordable housing. Affordable housing right now, the FIU study, as you probably heard, has been completed. Right now is we recommend different strategies how to approach in terms of addressing our affordable housing issues in the city of Miami. And then they are working on right now prioritizing projects from the current affordable housing pipeline that is on the works. So here's the project selection process we have. And I'm going to go very quickly. I think that you all are aware of this because I presented to you many times. These are our guiding themes that guide the selection of the projects. And of course, this little portion right here that each project has to aligning efforts to drive decisions that are integrate resiliency in every project. And these are the categories and the funding for each one of those. And these, I'm not going to go quick, but here's one of the guiding themes. What we have done is we define what those themes actually mean. And then what we did was we created criteria for each one of those. And I presented to you in the past this information. So each category has their main goals, objectives, and supporting actions so that we can meet those objectives. And here's the funding allocation. In tranche 1, we actually completed, we only invested roughly $3 million, and then we have a remaining $181.7 million. And the parks and culture facilities, again, is the same thing. They have their goals and objectives, supporting action. We have a remaining of $52 million to address there. Public safety, we have $6.5 million on that to do the Fire Station 10. Roadways, we have about $15 million. As you saw the map, we only have $15 million, so we have to really prioritize the needs of the city and where we can invest that money. Affordable housing, a lot of it comes from, so it's what we want to do is we want to create and preserve affordable housing units. This is the main goal of this category. And we have here the objectives in the supporting action, which I have presented to you in the past. And we have $85 million remaining. But what's important about the affordable housing is that, for example, in Tranche 1, we only invested we invested $15 million, but we were able to leverage that from private funding, which at $200 million. So there's quite a leverage. So here's all the project sources, and these are basically they are here to provide the capital projects investments, and we use it as decision to select projects. I mean, capital plan is the main feeder of that, and then we have the demonstration projects. Patrick, you brought a great point earlier when you were saying about the Jose Marti Park, how we can take that design and actually apply it to other vulnerabilities, similar vulnerabilities area throughout the river. So that could be a project source that we can draw projects. Stormwater Master Plan is the major contributor for the projects to this category. We have completed Shorecrest area plan, so that's another source for projects. Local mitigation strategy is not a project source. It is that the county uses this so that we can add projects, so we can actually go and seek those funding and to leverage the money and grants that are available. Urban Land Institute waterfront design is just basically a recommendation, etc. Other city master plan. For parks, we have capital improvements, of course, parks heat map master plan. We did a programming for Fire Station 10, so that's good to go. In terms of roads, most of the projects actually are going to come from that pavement condition index assessment that we have. And then the affordable housing is the pipeline application, some of the suggestions from the from FIU study, and then any other public-private partnerships. So project selection process, the way it works is I explained this to you and I put it in a nicer graph, I hope. This is the project source. And then they come through it, they go through this guiding themes filter, and then it goes around to the categories, and then you prioritize, and then we do the funding allocation and the initiation of the project. And of course, here you can see it's important that throughout that process, we do stakeholder participation throughout. And this is just a map of everything else that I was just explaining to you. So it's the project sources that come through. This is through the implementation. Each one of those is done in tranches, a 3-year implementation. And then what is important is the outputs, what we're trying to achieve with each one of them, not only the projects, but for tranche and overall bond, what we want trying to achieve. And there is we have benefits that we want to achieve, which are soft benefits. We want to increase safety, positive environmental impacts, and eventually, like set condition for maybe even future Miami Forever Bond number 2, etc. Infrastructure, improve parks accessibility, etc., and then lessons learned that we actually get from each one of those tranches that feed eventually to these project selection process. And with that, I conclude if you have any questions.
Oh, thank you very much, Suleiman.
How did I do? Did I do in 10 minutes?
Great. That was a ton of information in a short period of time. And
I know.
And so I'll open it to the committee for questions, and please, I guess we'll have to keep it kind of brief, but I also feel like we can return to this issue if there are specific issues that people want to bring up. We can return to it in another meeting.
Absolutely.
The floor is open.
Great. Have a good night, everybody. No, just kidding.
I see we may have lost a couple members too along the way. I think it's really great to hear the update. I do, I've heard a lot today about the idea of multiple benefits, and I know that you all think that way, and you can see synergies, and I guess the question for me is, how are you able to quantify those or demonstrate those or use that as criteria, in terms of selection?
Absolutely. I think that the criteria that we have set for selection of these projects it really is what is going to measure the benefits and whether we achieve those or not. And I understand that we need to have a better quantitative, maybe measure of those achievements. But I think that we also go by also with what Climate Ready Miami has set for us to achieve. We try to align with all of those so we can actually achieve the goal.
Okay. Jose, did you want to say something? No. So I think that this will be an ongoing conversation, obviously, and we'll just ask for updates as we go forward. So thank you again.
Yes, absolutely. And then, and as you saw, one of those signature projects is Jose Marti Park, and we're trying to do similar things with all the other projects.
Yeah, really exciting.
I mean, we can probably schedule in future meetings some of these projects to come in and do presentations similar to Jose Marti Park.
I think that we not only, I think we learn a lot from that process and hearing from the designers or the people involved in the actual implementation of projects. It's really great to hear their perspective.
Yes.
Where they had challenges and where they had other opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next. We have a couple more items here on the agenda. One is an open discussion / other items. We have time allotted for that. I would like to ask if anyone has anything they want to bring up, to please, if you can, keep it brief. So I'll just pause there. Patrick?
Super brief. I know I had mentioned, I can't even remember what it was, but looking into tidal elevation sensors and kind of looking at that question of, do we need more? And if we do, where should we have them? I have been looking into that, and it's sort of an ongoing project. My initial findings are suggesting that maybe we don't. And I've been finding that we've been looking at anomalies between the predicted tides and the observed tides. And I've been finding really interesting anomalies sort of all up and down the Atlantic coast, but I'm not finding them in the Pacific coast. So that's really interesting, but I have no idea why. And so it's suggesting to me that it's a larger scale thing, but it's a work in progress, and I hope to bring something more substantial to the committee in the not too distant future.
I look forward to hearing the answer on that. That's a good one. Thanks for doing that, Patrick, and for keeping the ball rolling. Anyone else? Okay, everyone. That brings us to our we have final public comment period. I believe that Ryan Shedd is asking to make a public comment. Is that the case?
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Really quickly, I just wanted to add, it took me a while to pull up the document, so I couldn't throw it in the middle of the item about the sea level rise projections. But I did want to reassure you guys, and it won't change anything that you already discussed or voted on, but with the amendments to this MCMP as it pertained to coastal management, with future land use planning, we baked in language about updating our coastal high hazard area along with any updates to the compact projection. We actually didn't tie it just to that projection, so we've sort of given ourselves, availability space to kind of use, the best data available. But as the compact changes its projection, we'll be able to take that into account as we make further updates to the MCMP. So there's a little bit of language on its way already, but again, that's just one piece.
Ryan, I may borrow from your language, so we're aligned.
Absolutely.
Great idea. Thanks for that, Ryan. That's helpful.
Thanks.
Okay, so public comment, Ronaldo, have any other public comments come in?
We have no additional public comment.
Okay. So with that, I think we're at the end of the agenda, and the last item is to adjourn. We don't have a meeting scheduled for August, because we typically take off in August, and I guess we should, I don't see a reason why not to maintain that tradition, unless anyone feels strongly about wanting to meet in August. Patrick?
Personally, I don't, obviously would love to not have one, but I feel like we've started to fall behind the 8 ball a little bit with the pandemic, and this seems like it's a reasonable way to meet. So I feel like there's so much exciting work happening here if we can build some momentum. I just think with the subject, with everything that's going on, it's very easy for our work to fall by the wayside. And we're going to have to work twice as hard to make sure that it's relevant to, our elected officials. So I feel like we need to kind of double down as opposed to slow down. I don't want to do the more work, but I kind of feel like it's the way to do it.
I'm hearing a motion that we should meet in August.
Don't hate me.
I don't. My instinct was telling me the same. And can I hear from any committee members that feel strongly one way or the other?
We should definitely meet.
Keelan, okay.
Regularly from now on.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody object to that? I don't think we're in violation of bylaws by doing that. We don't, that's not in our bylaws. Mr. Goldberg?
I don't believe so. I don't have it in front of me. I don't believe so. Just one thing to note, the current executive order by the governor allowing virtual meetings and not having a physical quorum expires, unless it's extended, expires August 1st. So I would imagine it'll probably be extended once more, but we can't predict the future. So if you do schedule a meeting in August or anytime after, we'll wait and see until it comes time to have to notice the meeting officially, whether we can do virtual or not. I imagine we'll be able to, but right now that's the current state of the executive orders permitting us to have virtual meetings.
Thank you. And we did have the ability, we have the ability to meet. We just don't have the authority to vote virtually if the executive order is not extended. So we can still continue to have information passing to the public in this way. And that
right, you could have a virtual meeting where it's noticed, but the only thing the governor suspended was the rule that requires that people be physically present to count as a quorum. So you could meet, if let's say the governor's order expired and it's not renewed, meet virtually, but take no action. I doubt that'll happen, but obviously no one can predict the future.
Okay.
Can I offer a suggestion in the motion? If we would put that we're going to have a meeting in August, whether virtual, if allowed, and then if not at City Hall.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I would argue we should meet virtually, whether it's an official meeting or it becomes just a workshop.
So here's my argument against that. If we don't have, let's say the governor doesn't extend it, which I doubt, but let's say he doesn't extend it. There's no commission meeting right now scheduled for August. If we are brought the Back Bay or anything else, we would not be able to vote to get it on the agenda. Furthermore, we won't even be able to schedule a meeting since I guess we've already done it at this side. We voted on it, and I don't know if we can call for a meeting without a vote, but that's just my...
Well, yeah, I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But what I would say is our default will be virtually meeting, and we'll decide whether we need to move in. Yeah, I have a very difficult time feeling responsible for asking people to come to City Hall, any of you. So I'm going to advocate that we meet virtually and just hope that allows us to vote.
We'll know also on what, Thursday, about what's happening with the Back Bay study. So that gives us enough, I would assume that gives us enough time to react if we have to do something different creatively. But I agree with you, Amy. I think that, I know personally, I'm not terribly comfortable, even if somehow cases miraculously plummeted in the next 30 days, I wouldn't feel terribly comfortable coming into a public setting. So I agree with you. I think trying to push for virtual is a wise choice.
Okay, everybody. That meeting would be August 3rd. It's the first Monday in August. So please mark your calendars. We'll plan to meet virtually, and hopefully we'll be able to do all our business in that way on August 3rd. Patrick.
Just a super fast reminder to reach out to your commissioners and write public comment for the commission meeting about the Back Bay study.
And that goes for the public. If any public are out there listening, please do your part also to let commissioners know what your thoughts are on that. Jane, were you raising a hand or were you waving? Okay. Thanks, everyone. I wish you all good night and be well and stay safe.